Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're doing a movie episode of Games My Mom Found. I'm Mike Albertin, and who think they're in a 1930s comic book with me tonight?
Hey everybody, it's Kenneth Sanity, and the enemy of my enemy is my frenemy? Animend?
I'm Bill Tucker from A Gamer Looks at 40, and wait a minute, I'm having a thought. Oh, yeah, never mind, it's gone.
I was going to say maybe there's just a little too much makeup on your face, that's why you couldn't think, because you were a completely different person.
I was going to try to do my Pacino impersonation, but I might wake up the dog if I did that, so I'm just going to leave it here. I'm going to leave it. Maybe further on, but it requires a lot of shouting and screaming, and that's I live in a house with a neighborhood, neighbors, it's fine.
So, even though I didn't say this to you, Ken, do you want to introduce what we're talking about? Because this is 100% your idea.
Yes, it is my idea. Today, we are talking about the live-action Dick Tracy movie, produced by, directed by, and starring Warren Beatty, released June 14th, 1990 in Lake Buena Vista, and June 15th, 1990 everywhere else. Yeah, we're just going to talk about this movie. It's so great.
You say that.
What?
I would like to start off with our memories. I have never seen this movie before. I have seen less than a minute of it in my life up until yesterday. I want those movies about 3 hours. There's my history. Bill, what about you?
I've seen this movie dozens of times. This was one of the movies my dad had. This was one of the VHS. I think I actually might have seen this in theaters. I actually might have seen this in 1990. My dad might have taken me. I don't have a recollection of that, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I definitely watched this a lot on VHS, the black VHS with the Dick Tracy logo, just like the Batman logo on that other tape we had before. And I remember liking this a lot. I'm sure I watched this a lot for Madonna. Let's be honest.
That's fair.
I was 10, so come on now. All right. I like this movie, and I still like this movie quite a bit. There's a lot to enjoy in this. This is a lot of fun, and we're going to talk at length about this, and of course, Mr. Sanity will as well. But I have a pretty long history with Dick Tracy, and I actually caught myself reciting the lines as it was still happening, just like it was yesterday. So This movie stuck with me, and I have a lot of fondness for it, and I'm glad this viewing maintains that fondness. I'm glad this didn't get ruined by a new viewing. So, yeah. That's my history with it.
Ken.
My history with this movie is long and sordid. I remember going to go see this in the theater. I had the collectible souvenir cup that was released when this movie came out. I had the action figures. I had the poster. I had 2 of the 3 soundtrack albums to this. I had Dick Tracy collection. I've been a Dick Tracy fan for a minute, and I was super duper hyped that they were making a movie, and then I went to go see the movie. And then I watched it like a billion more times on my VHS until I wore it out. And I still watch it today. I probably watched it like 3 times in preparation for this because I just can't stop watching this movie.
Did you have the toys too?
Oh, you better believe I had the toys.
I think I had that car. I don't know if I had all the toys, but I'm pretty sure I had a Dick Tracy figure and that black car. I distinctly remember that. Yeah.
I had most of the villain action figures with the exception of the blank, which was so hard to find.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything from this. I mean, I never saw this movie before, but I have a lot of random toys that I just got. And I'm surprised I never had anything from this, but I would have been 3 at the time this came out.
Yeah, all right, I get it.
Yeah, we know. Yet another old joke, another jape at our age. It's fine.
It wasn't even that. I was just young.
I know. I'm just kidding. I know. But yeah, this is so Mike, you derided this in your openness. You derided this in your open. I'm getting right to the brass tacks here. Let's get right to the meat of this. You did not like this movie, sir.
This is a Blair Witch. It was a Blair Witch for me, but it's low. Like, I was just like, meh. I mean, I laughed, but to me, this was a dumb movie. And I know it's meant to be dumb. Like, it's meant to be a 1930s caricature of itself, if I said it right. Maybe not of itself, but it feels like we're in a make-believe 1930s where everything is bright and colorful and mobsters rule the world. And that was okay. I don't know. There was something about this movie that just was kind of like,
I don't know, Ken. I don't know what's going on here. And I looked at this and I haven't seen this movie probably 20 years. I can't remember the last time I sat down to watch Dick Tracy. But boy, did I just fall into its rhythms immediately. There's so many little, I don't know if we're going to go beat by beat or if we're just going to kind of talk about it in general. There's so many little things in this movie that it does so well. And you're right. It is a caricature of 1930s gangster movies, up and down to the dialogue between Breathless Mahoney and Dick Tracy, which is straight out of a Double Indemnity or one of those 20s, 30s type gangster movies where everyone talks in one-liners. Like nobody talks in dialogue. They just talk in one-liners. Everything ends in a hard period. But I don't know. Just something very charming and exciting about it that I really still dug even to this day.
I don't know. I gotta say, the movie is shot beautifully. It's very colorful. The makeup is amazing for what they do, but there was just something about this movie that I was kind of like, didn't enjoy it. I know I'm the odd one out, and that's fine.
That's fine.
Here's the thing, though. You're not really the odd one out.
I am
Are we the oddballs here, Ken? Are we the strange ones?
I wouldn't say we're the strange ones. This movie was kind of divisive. They spent overall, all told, about $100 million on this, including, marketing, promotion, all that stuff. But when you consider the budget for the actual movie was $46 million, they spent a lot of money on marketing. And
as you did.
And the box office was only like 162.
It's not a huge hit.
Not a huge hit at all. Like it made a profit, but it didn't make those Batman profits.
And that's what they were banking on. They were banking on Batman money.
Dick Tracy's not Batman.
Exactly.
Good point. It's not.
I mean, this movie felt like Batman at times. It felt like Batman 89, like they were going for a very stylistic city, like you have with Tim Burton's Batman 89, but there was he's still not down in the yellow trench coat. There's a difference.
See, here's the thing. I think a lot of people who have seen this are drawing Batman comparisons because Danny Elfman does the score.
That's a good point.
And it is very much giving Batman 89.
I mean, stylistically though, like visually, they couldn't be more different. I mean, other than of course, they're creating this weird world, this kind of abstraction of the real world. But Batman, the Batman of 1989 is mostly muted colors and black and nighttime, with some marked exceptions, of course. But this movie is just every color in the palette. Like this is just an explosion of bright lights and machine guns and red cars and blue this and crazy suits. Like it's like sensory overload, and it really, really works.
I mean, I agree and disagree. It has been a sensory overload. It didn't work for me. There are things I did like. I like how all the backgrounds are matte painting. You can tell they're matte painting. I like that. I don't know what it was about this movie that I was just kind of bored. I mean, I didn't play Marvel Snap. I did pay attention to this whole movie. I made myself sit there and watch it and just took notes.
That's fair. And we should probably talk a little bit about the history of this movie, because this movie has a very long and sordid history in itself. Never mind Mr. Sanity's long and sordid history. You could probably tell more of the story than I could Ken, but this movie they started developing this movie in 1975.
Yeah. Yeah, Warren Beatty wanted to make a Dick Tracy movie back in 75.
Dang.
And
imagine that.
Because he liked the character.
He's a big Dick Tracy fan. To this day, still reprising the role.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that on previous episodes.
Yeah.
About how insane he is with the Dick Tracy license. But
we'll never get another Dick Tracy anything until his ass dies.
Probably, which is, I don't know. I think it's a shame. I feel like this movie, if it were more readily accessible, I think this would have fans. I think this would have a lot of fans, but it's not readily accessible. It's not really streaming on anything. You have to either rent it from Amazon or Fandango at home.
YouTube is where I watch it on, but I have to pay but I have to pay on $4, $4 to watch it.
That's what I did.
Did I watch it on YouTube or one of those? Yeah, one of those. Probably was YouTube. It was most convenient. It was on Prime as well. I think I just chose YouTube. You have a good point there. If this was something you could just pop on like Netflix or Hulu for free, just with your standard subscription, I think you'd see a small resurgence for this, because I think we as a film ingesting society I think we're kind of ready for a Dick Tracy. I think we kind of want to see the good guys win and the bad guys lose, all of it in big colors. I don't know. I think there's more of an appetite for this movie now than there was like 10 years ago, which is probably why I haven't watched it in 20 years. But I don't know. I think there's something to that, Ken.
I agree. I think if this was something like you guys said, readily available, people would watch it and more people would experience it.
Like, honestly, I really do think it is probably one of the best looking movies that nobody talks about.
I'd have to agree with that.
It is a good looking movie.
This is still part of my gold standard when considering movies based on comics, because they have captured the look of the Dick Tracy comic strip, mind you, comic strip, not a comic book, a newspaper comic strip. They have captured the look of it beautifully. Yeah. It's a black and white strip, but they had Sunday colors, and their Sunday colors were, black, white, yellow, red, blue, purple, and green. Like, those were the colors that they used, which is primarily the color palette of this movie. Like, they used the matte paintings, and I know a lot of people complain about that, like, oh, the camera doesn't move a lot. Yeah, okay, the camera doesn't move because of the matte paintings. You could tell it was a matte painting and blah, blah, blah. It looks like a comic strip, though, because the camera doesn't move.
It really does.
And it allows for some amazing shots and some fantastic split diopter work where you get the foreground and background in focus.
Yes. Really good stuff.
Yep. I love me some split diopter. And this movie is just choice with it.
Yep. That stood out to me. There's a few scenes in particular that have really good use of that effect. We should talk about the cast of this. I mean, we've talked about Warren Beatty before, but this movie has a cast and a half.
We haven't covered a movie with him, I don't think. I know we made fun of him, but I don't think we covered a movie with him.
Well, so Warren Beatty obviously is the creative mind behind this. He's been trying to get up to this point, been trying to get this movie made for 20-something years. And actually, I guess 15 years. Yeah, 15 years, 1990. So it was a long road to get here. I think, though, as Dick Tracy, he looks the part, but probably from an acting perspective, he's the weakest link. He is outshined by almost everybody he's around. There are some scenes where he is not only like bad, but definitely wooden and has a hard time handling some of the more emotional beats that are here.
Yeah.
But he's not great as the titular Dick Tracy. Luckily, everyone around him is pulling their weight and more. The lead femme fatale in this, Breathless Mahoney, played by Madonna. And this is 1990 era Madonna. She is still the biggest pop star in the world. I mean, that's coming off of, I think, Like a Prayer, I think was 89. So, and she is one of the biggest stars in the world. And let's be honest, again, a bit of a draw for me. And the young lad. And Al Pacino playing the big boss, whose name escapes me at the moment.
Big boy.
Big boy Caprice. Yes, of course. Good old big boy Caprice. Doing just chewing the scenery like only Pacino can. Like, really, only Pacino can chew scenery quite like that and make it work.
I would not have known that was Pacino if Tiff wouldn't have told me. I did not. I couldn't tell. It's just the makeup in this movie. You can't tell who most of these actors are because the makeup is just completely changes them.
It really does. Like the prosthetic work in this alone, I'm pretty sure this was nominated for like makeup.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
if not, it should have been.
It did win some awards.
I know it won for Best Original Song.
Oh, which one? Oh, I Always Get My Man. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
It's even Sondheim. I mean, even we're talking about legends of this era. It won the Oscar for Best Original Song, Best Makeup, and Best Art Direction. And Pacino was actually nominated for Best Supporting Actor that year.
Wild.
Yeah, imagine that. A movie nobody talks about. It was also nominated for Best Cinematography and Best Costume Design and Best Sound. So it was actually at the Oscars. Like this is a
comic movie.
It got some recognition.
Preposterous.
Yeah. Preposterous. Indeed.
I know I said it wrong, but
indeed preposterous.
I like Al Pacino in this. I also think this is the Pacino movie we have covered on this podcast after 138 movies at this point of recording that are published.
I was gonna ask, is this the first Pacino movie we've discussed?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's more than that if you count the MCU stuff we've done. I mean, there's over 150 movies we've done on this podcast. We have never done an Al Pacino movie yet.
That's crazy. Wow. The first one we do is Dick Tracy. Not
wasn't my idea.
Not Scent of a Woman, not the Godfather series, just Dick
No,
Tracy.
I know.
You know what? Everybody talks about The Godfather. All right.
Didn't stop. Yeah, I agree.
Everybody talks about Scent of a Woman. Everybody talks about Heat. Nobody talks about Dick Tracy. And that's what we're here to do today. We are here to right a historical wrong.
Yes, there
I've
we
never
go.
seen
Here.
Heat nor Scent of a Woman. I do want to watch Heat. I should watch that movie one day.
It's really
It's good.
good. It's
Good.
no Dick
Never gotten
Tracy,
around
but
to
it's
it.
pretty good.
No, I think I actually like the Tracy more than Heat. Heat overstayed its welcome. Heat's long. It's a very long
This movie
movie.
was
If I
long
remember
for
correctly.
me.
No, this movie is not long. This movie zip.
I
This
know.
movie does have a bit of a saggy middle. Between the second and third act, this tires to sag a little bit as everything in Dick's world is sagging. But
I think if I would have been hot, I would have been more entertained.
Okay.
I'm an influence of something. Like this movie needed me to be on drugs of some sort, either alcohol, weed, something, and I wasn't any of those. I feel like that.
Well, I mean,
this movie being so many bright colors, I bet if you were high, this movie would be really interesting. Joe, if you listen to this, you should experiment one day and tell us.
I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I have no experience in that realm. I just can't imagine the overload. I'd imagine poor Joe may be panicking and like under a desk or something. It's like there's too many things happening.
It was a huge stoner, and I remember looking at it when we were talking, and he all like just tons and tons of cartoons. He's like, "This is great when you're high. You just want to watch cartoons." At least he did. So I'm kind of like, this doesn't work. This is like a freaking live action cartoon.
I mean, that's not wrong. It is very much like a cartoon. Like, and going back to some of the other cast members you got here, like you got what's his name? You got Paul Sorvino. Who doesn't love Paul Sorvino?
Yep.
As Lips Manless. Yeah.
Okay, I was right.
You got Mandy Patinkin. Fucking shit. Inigo Montoya is in this movie as 88 Keys, the piano player.
Yep.
And he's got a hell of a voice if you didn't know.
He sure does. Gorgeous voice.
Yeah. You got
the Princess Bride guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen that movie either,
oh my.
by the way. Don't worry, it's gonna be remedied next month, but never seen it.
Okay, good.
Good.
But like you got a bunch of, television genre actors like R.G. Armstrong, the guy that plays Prude Face. You got William Forsythe playing Flat Top. You got Dustin Hoffman as Mumbles.
Who's so good. He is so freaking good in this movie.
A nothing role.
Yeah. Freaking Dick Van Dyke shows up for 2 scenes. Dick Van Dyke.
Hey. I did like that. I like they got Dick Van Dyke in this movie. I mean, it is a star-studded cast.
Tolkien. Yeah, James Tolkien, the guy who played Strickland in the Back to the Future movies, he plays Numbers, the accountant. Like
another James Caan shows up for exactly 1 scene,
and he plays
Michael and Sonny are reunited again.
Great. Yep.
there's your Godfather connection right there.
I do want to someday cover Godfather on here, but who knows if ever actually had to go more strange. So
if you want to go even weirder with it, you got James Caan and Kathy Bates in this movie.
You do. That's right. You do have
Misery's a good fucking movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You got Catherine O'Hara playing crime moll Texie Garcia.
I saw that in the list. And I'm like, where was she in this? I don't even remember her being in this movie.
She was at the table. She didn't have any lines.
Oh, she was just there.
Yeah. And
I saw her in the cast.
To a special old head, we got John Machida Jr. as the radio announcer, the Micro Machines commercial guy.
Yeah, I was hoping someone would bring that up. Yep. That's great.
No idea what you're talking about exactly, but all right.
See, us elderly people will just hold on to those memories. I
remember the Micro Machines commercial. I had a lot of Micro Machine toys.
Yeah, he was just the guy in the commercial that talked fast.
Oh,
that was his whole thing.
I could do that.
And it's a cast that is shockingly stacked.
Yeah.
For no reason.
It's just
literally no reason.
Have a Tracy movie.
And buried under mountains of makeup.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Buried under mountains of makeup. And I guess that speaks to I don't know why. I'd like to learn why all those actors decided to take their afternoon and do a day. And just do a day.
I feel like I understand why you got to go back. Like you got to go way back to October 4th, 1931. The day that Dick Tracy was first published in a newspaper. Dick Tracy has been in newspapers for a long damn time.
Yes.
And if memory serves correctly, I think it's still in newspapers.
It is, yes.
I don't know.
So I was Googling last night after I watched this movie. This comic book is still running.
That
People that
is
made
more.
it are all dead, and new people took over, but still running.
Famed crime pulp writer Max Allen Collins wrote for Dick Tracy for a while, a long while. Like he took over from Chester Gould, the original artist, I think, or the original author, creator. And it's been going on for so damn long. And I love it. It's been a part of so many lives that it's not surprising that, some of these huge actors were like, hell yeah, I'll do a Dick Tracy movie. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. He's been around forever, and it's one of those lesser known cultural icons that's just had some staying power for whatever reason.
That is fair. Because I knew nothing. The only thing I knew about Dick Tracy was the NES game that a friend of mine had. Like, that's the only thing I ever knew about Dick Tracy.
Yeah, Bill, why don't you tell us about that NES game?
It's not good. It's so bad. Did I do a show? Did I do an episode on that?
You did, yes.
You did a bargain bin. Yeah,
I did a bargain bin on that. See how funny that I don't even know what I do on my own show. I'm like, did I do an episode on Dick Tracy? I did do an episode on Dick Tracy.
Yeah, that was the first episode of your show I listened to, actually.
Oh, and I think you actually reached out to me. You were like, were you speaking bad about Dick Tracy? Like, I think you actually were like, dude, you actually came at me a little bit, and I was like, no, I don't think I did, because I remember liking it, but it had been so long. So allow me to state now, for the record, here in 2025, that I do really, really, really like this movie, and this was a lot of fun, and I would absolutely watch it again.
And you know what? I still play the game.
Yeah, that's why
I love the game.
Okay. Thinking about doing it on this podcast, not the movie. So, and I already know when I want to talk about it, so that might happen then.
Well, if you want to preview that, Dick Tracy is the Tales from the Bargain Bin number 17. So if you want to listen to me and somebody else talk about it, I don't remember who it was. It might be Mr. Michael K. Hughes.
It was me, by the way.
Go check. Oh, was it? It was you. Okay. Why did I talk to you about it? You'd never seen the movie. Why did
I played the game as a kid.
Sorry, that sounded really mean.
You had a Michael, Mr. Wrong Michael.
Oh, that was really mean. I'm sorry. I'll have to listen to that when I give out. I don't know if you're the same way, Mike, but when I record things, they just disappear instantly into the ether. There are entire interviews for this Final Fantasy VII series that I'm doing that I just forgot to edit. I just forgot they were there. I was like, oh shoot, I have 2 interviews I completely forgot.
You don't forget to edit, but I do forget things we say in podcast. Like, you said this would be like 3 months ago. I'm like, I have no fucking idea what I said. It was a long.
Anyway, back to Mr. Tracy. Again, I don't know if you want to go beat by beat or just want to hit the big bullet points. Yeah, that's fine. I
like the kid a lot.
Yeah, he's really good. He's really good.
Hook, which kind of want to cover now.
Yep, he was in Hook, which is great. He was in everybody's favorite high school movie, Can't Hardly Wait. I've been keeping up with him much lately, but I can't imagine. You're either 2 people in Hollywood now. You're either okay or, dear God, what happened to you?
Unfortunately,
it's very accurate.
Let's find out. Well, he's a lawyer.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
that's wild.
Nice. Well done, Charlie.
Yeah, but
he did a great job playing the Tracy sidekick kind of, and being the orphan, and like the ongoing joke. I did enjoy the ongoing joke of they're gonna put the orphan in and he runs away. Like it's funny. It works. I looked at this movie. I was just multiple times we went, oh my god, I still have an hour to go. Like stuff like that. That's where my judging comes in. But it was 45 minutes ago. That was an hour in this movie. I'm like, if that movie starts to kind of drag. I just like the kid. I think it's a lot of good beats. I laughed a lot in this movie. I really did. I had a lot of moments where I laughed.
There's a lot of funny things in this movie. Like, you wouldn't expect there to be that much funny. And maybe that's another reason why this movie didn't do so well. After Batman being all dark and serious, this is, like you said earlier, Mike, it's a cartoon, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's not ashamed to be, jokey and campy and just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
And it is.
But it's still great.
I think what I think it did bad is that it just wasn't what people expected. Is probably what it was. I mean, since it came the year after Batman '89, I'm sure that played a big part in it.
I mean, think about it. I mean, it came out summer of 1990. I'm trying to think what else was out. I should look up 1990 in movies to see what else was out in theaters at that time. If I was a responsible podcaster, I would have this already pulled up at the tip of my fingers, but
So don't feel bad.
nah,
Another thing
I don't feel bad.
do want to say is I like it when the kid is like, "Are we gonna? When are we gonna eat? When are we gonna eat? When are we gonna eat?" And then you see him pass out an hour after a few scenes. That cracked me up as a father.
Yeah,
I'm
man,
like,
like-
that's accurate.
That kid is a bottomless hole, man. He is eating
Love it.
most of the movie.
Great, really, it's a real, and it's very, yeah. Kids, yes. Children are constantly chopping up things.
Kids do eat.
A lot.
Kids be eating. List of American film. Here we go. All right. So yeah, 1990 was. I'm just looking at the top 10 highest grossing films of 1990. We'll start with Home Alone, of course. That Home Alone is the #1 grossing movie. You had
Sure.
Ghost, Dances with Wolves, Pretty Woman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hunt for Red October, Total Recall, Die Hard 2, Dick Tracy coming in at #9 on that list, and Kindergarten
damn.
Cop.
So a largely serious year.
Yeah.
Like even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which don't get me wrong, I love. It's not a laugh riot. It's pretty dark.
Yep. The weekend it was released, which was June 15th. It released alongside The Adventures of Milo and Otis. Oh, it's a re-release. Okay, I would say that's an older movie. Gremlins 2, the new batch. Something called
Yeah.
Betsy's Wedding, which I've never heard of.
Oh,
Yeah. And that was the weekend release for that one. And then the weekend after was RoboCop 2. And the weekend after that was Days of Thunder. So, I had some competition in the theaters. Oh, and Total Recall was out the week before. Total Recall was a big hit. So I could see that being, again, taking a lot of eyes away from Dick Tracy. If you're going to see a movie in June, you're probably going to see Total Recall, Schwarzenegger, much more of a box office draw than Warren Beatty in a yellow trench coat. So that could be another reason why, but still did okay as far as a movie goes. And as far as kids' movies go, which is it's marketed for kids, there wasn't much out in theaters at that point. I don't know. Maybe everyone was just at the pool. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a
You
little
would think
surprised.
point of it is you would think it would have done better than barely breaking even. I mean, based on what was out at the time.
I mean, it is a very unique movie. Like, I am glad that I finally watched this movie because it's been on my list for fucking years. I just never did. So, like, I'm not upset that it won a Patreon poll and that you guys got me to finally watch it, even though I was bored. But I did really appreciate the way that the movie is shot, the way it jumps from scene to scene. Like, all that really worked well. Like, this has 2 music montages in it, which I really like music montages. We don't get them anymore as much, I feel. Or at least not in movies we cover for this podcast.
We don't. That's a shame. They're great. And Madonna is, of course, if you have Madonna in your movie, she better be singing. Again, this is 1990, right after Living on a Prayer. No, wrong singer. Living on a, wait, am I right? Living on a Prayer?
like
You are right.
Like a Prayer. Jeez. Thank you. Sorry. Like a Prayer.
Madonna.
Thank you. This is Like a Prayer era Madonna, and she better be singing, and the music's good. That's really good. It has those tinges of like that 1930s, and I don't know. I dig the soundtrack.
the way the movie looks in my opinion, cannot be talked about enough. The director of photography, the cinematographer on this one is Vittorio Storaro. Vittorio Storaro has done a lot of big damn movies. Like he did the Dune miniseries, which looked absolutely gorgeous. He did, obviously, a little movie called Ishtar, small movie called The Last Emperor,
Nice.
a tiny little thing called Apocalypse Now.
What? Oh, damn. He was the cinematographer for Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
Golly.
So
Okay.
that's why he was able to deal with Warren Beatty. He's like, I dealt with Coppola. You ain't shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He also did Last Tango in Paris, and shockingly, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, one of my favorite Giallo films. So, like, he's done stuff like from
He's been around
all over, crossing genres back and forth.
Big fucking movie you just mentioned. So
Yeah. So there's a reason this movie looks so goddamn good, is because Vittorio Storaro is so goddamn good at what he does. And to get a movie that looks like this, that not only captured like the, a Prohibition era Chicago type city, but also to render it in such rich jewel tones that he did. Oh, Absolute chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's the movie looks phenomenal. There's a bunch of scenes. There's one scene in particular where when Dick Tracy they first encounter the kid and he has that little chase between the railroad and the railroad station, and he ducks in front of that railroad engine, the train engine, and just how beautiful all that looked. And there's this one scene where he's fighting the abusive father figure in that little shack, and the shack is just bouncing back and forth. So it's this really wide shot, and it's just this little shack going dunk, dunk, dunk as he's beating this person up. And I always remember that being so fun and so visually interesting. It's just a little taste of the flavor of this movie. And this movie has tons of flavor.
It's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah. Yep.
Like straight up, it is. And I think the problem that most people had with it was maybe they were expecting to go see like a stylized Untouchables, which, yeah, Dick Tracy can absolutely be that sometimes. But the Dick Tracy comic strip has been around for a lot of damn years. Dick Tracy made it to the moon before Apollo 11. Like, he was on the moon interacting with moon people.
Oh, you're not kidding.
I'm not joking. Dick Tracy's son married one of the moon people. And they had a daughter. Like, it's a real damn thing. The comic is goofy as shit. But at the same time, some of the villains, like the Brow and Pruneface, were both fucking Nazis.
Yes, that's right.
So, like, it was dark, but it was funny. And like Pat Patton in the comic was an idiot, so much so that he failed upwards into police chief. Like, Chester Gould had some unfortunate opinions about cops. He did not like it when people questioned police action. He was very pro-cop.
Okay.
And I don't think we should cover this movie without saying, yeah, the source had some problems. And at the end of the day, yeah, this is kind of propaganda.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. But it's very old-timey in that regard.
Yeah, but it feels like the 1930s, so it's like it's a different... Oh, I didn't even notice it, to be honest, until you brought it up.
Yeah.
Because to me, it felt like it was the 1930s. If that makes sense.
And like, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense because that's very much what this movie was meant to invoke. It's the 1930s because I don't know if you noticed, but the cast is a little pale.
Mm-hmm. Yes, like it is.
Yeah,
I mean, because
like I don't even know.
Everybody's white.
Yeah,
I assume
everybody white.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I mean, it does fit the 1930s. Would it have been like that, like Chicago, or probably not? But I don't know.
Oh no, Chicago's always been Chicago.
Okay,
but
it made me think of Al Pacino, or not Al Pacino, but oh god, what the fuck, Al Capone. I don't know why my brain couldn't think
Al
of
Capone,
a real life gig. Yeah,
the inspiration for Big Boy, that guy.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yes, that guy.
Yeah, no, he totally was.
Makes sense.
Alphonse Capone absolutely influenced Alphonse Big Boy Caprice.
Yes.
It is interesting though because Pacino's design. This was Pacino's design for the character.
Oh, really? This was he chose this kind of rotund and full on facial makeup. Man, okay.
Yeah, like the hunch, the big nose, the hair that looks like it was dipped in motor oil. Like the comic Big Boy is more in common with Kingpin from Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like,
I seem to remember that. Yeah,
bigger dude, a little heavier. Bald,
broader.
Yeah. And he wanted to go different. So, all right.
Cool.
And it worked so well. Like the makeup guy adapted his design so well that the makeup guy became Al Pacino's personal makeup guy for a long time.
That's cool.
Yeah, like there's a lot of wild things to come out of this movie.
No, that's
speaking of wild. Fair. Yeah, that's cool. And speaking of wild things, did anyone else notice Colm Meaney in the background as one of the police officers? If you don't know who Colm Meaney is, he played Miles O'Brien.
Yes, I was trying to beat your place, but I couldn't think of the name.
Yeah, he plays Miles O'Brien from Next Gen and Deep Space Nine, just hanging out in the background. Everyone's in this damn movie.
Scene.
Yep, he's in one scene. Yes, me too. Me too. Well, season 3 on. I mean, season 2 has its charms. Season 1's a disaster, but season 3 on is pretty fantastic.
I feel good.
Yeah. Anyway,
got a few problems.
But It's fine. It takes a little while sometimes for it to get going. The first season of Breaking Bad has its issues. It's fine.
Yes.
But yeah, everyone's in this movie, as we said. And Pacino, going back to him, he is so good in this. He is having an absolute blast, and he steals every scene he's in. I mean, but it's almost hard to say that Al Pacino steals the scene. It's like such a dumb thing to say. Of course it does. It's Al Pacino, and he's shouting. Al Pacino steals everything. He's really exceptional in this. He's one of my favorite physical moments of his is when they discover the bug after after Dick Tracy always has the leg up on them because he has somebody evidently living in the ceiling of the Club Ritz.
That
Living there evidently full time, I guess. I don't know when he leaves. Clearly he doesn't. And
that one threw me for a loop.
Yeah, and when he spills the coffee and they discover it, his physical comedy, his little face, his face twitching and his chin, it's so good. Like just really very funny, very effective, and menacing too, because things are gonna hit a boiling point. It's really, really exceptional stuff.
So that character who lives in the ceiling, his name is Bug Bailey. He's from the comic strip.
Yes.
There are tons of people from the comic strip. They packed it because they didn't know if this movie would ever get a sequel. So they just packed it full and killed off most of the big Tracy villains. So I'm kind of glad it didn't get a sequel.
Yeah, because like in the first scene, you're killing off Littleface and I think the Brow, which I think was a prominent character in Dick Tracy canon. They
Brow
killed
was
off
one of the first Nazi spies.
Yeah, they killed off a lot of people in that first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So,
I was surprised.
Shoulders, Rodent, Brow, Littleface.
Shoulders was another one who was the big character in the comic strip.
Yep. Just got rid of him.
I mean, they weren't wrong. They were cool. So they made a good choice.
Yes.
I mean,
I'd love a reboot, though.
Well, here's the question. I was just going to say, I mean, we're not at this point in the episode yet, probably, but why not? Could this be rebooted? Could we do this again? We've already said that there could be an appetite for the 1990 campy Dick Tracy movie, but is there an appetite for a reboot of this? And if so, who does it?
I mean, that I can answer, but I think 100% you could have a reboot of this because 1930, especially a fictional 1930s, is far enough away from where we are. Hey, it's almost 100 years. Like that you can have that. Like you can make it work and there will be an appetite for that because, we are going to, I just feel like it could work. I mean, you have Indiana Jones that worked. I mean, we had a reboot, not too long, not really a reboot, we should have, but a movie to that, and I think did all right. I mean, it's later, but still, I think there's something for us to go back in time that can work. The 1930s is a really interesting time too for that a movie, especially 1930s.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of directors that have a very strong visual flair. That we'll think about it. We don't have to ruminate on this. Put that in the back of your brain, Ken Sanity and Mike Albertin. Just for maybe at the end we can cover that and say what director would do this license good or do this license properly. We don't have to do this right now because we don't. Our audience may not want us hemming and hawing. That doesn't make for good audio for a podcast.
Well, they wouldn't hear it.
True. That's how my show works. Everyone instantly has the best ideas immediately. It's amazing how that works on a podcast. It's crazy.
Crazy editing.
It's insane.
Yeah, don't worry. There are shows I listen to that I swear they don't know what editing is, and I've been listening to them for hey, come on now, buddy. Like I know you don't care, but come on. Like there are times where did my MP3 player stop working? Like did my phone not working because there's just silence? Oh yeah, they don't edit. I'm like fucking it.
Please tell me you're still listening to podcasts on an MP3 player. Do you have a podcast app on your Zune or your Rio? I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you.
It is on
get back to the
phone.
Nice.
I got
it. Just teasing. Oh, you got it. All right.
I got it.
I vamped for long enough. What do you got, Ken?
You give Dick Tracy to a horror director.
I don't see. Okay.
You give it to Lee Winnell. Strictly based on the strength of Upgrade.
Lee Winnell. I don't even think I know.
He did the new Invisible Man movie.
Did not see it.
Had a lot of really impressive shots in it. He did Upgrade. He's one part of the duo that brought us Saw and Insidious.
Okay.
And you get Glenn Powell to play Dick Tracy.
That's actually a pretty decent. All right. I dig that.
That's it. I solved it. You're welcome, Hollywood.
You're welcome. Hello. Fantastic.
It really all depends on who wants to do it, though. You got to get somebody who likes the comic.
Warren Beatty.
You can't.
Yeah.
Huh?
Warren Beatty wants to do it.
Did you see him? Did you
Yeah,
see him in that 2023
Yes.
Turner Classic Movie Special? Yes, I'm sure we all have. I'm sure we all took time out of our working
I
day
did.
today to watch at least some
Not
of
today,
I did.
but I Googled it. in the
that.
past.
No.
So I got a funny story. So I never knew that existed. I mean, I knew of this movie. Like I knew this movie came out, but I was actually, I was just mentioning it. He doesn't know how to edit. I love him. Comic Conspiracy, you guys are awesome. And for some reason, it came up about that random special, not the 2023 one, but the other one that he did on Turner Classic Movies that like aired it randomly in the middle of the night just to essentially renew the license.
2010 one.
Yes. And he mentioned that, and I Googled it, and I found it. It's on YouTube, and then I also did find the 2023 one once, and I'm like, there's issues here. But I get it. It's just the rights thing. Just
I would also be down for an Old Man Tracy.
I was thinking that too. I really was thinking that, but I really don't know if Mr. Beatty's still got it. I mean, not taken away from the man, but I don't know. That would be interesting.
You give me like a dark noir Old Man Tracy.
Yeah.
That one would be like give me my comic book fun movie, but give me this short that is like Old Man Tracy, dark, deep shadows, insanely violent. That would be interesting. Kind of like a Dark Knight Returns version of Dick Tracy.
See, but I don't know if I'd want it to be. I think I'd still want to maintain the lightness and the campiness and the oversaturated colors. I'm almost love him or hate him. He's definitely got the visual flair for it. Damien Chazelle, maybe a good choice. Director of La La Land, and he loves that era, as evidenced from La La Land and or those past eras, and Whiplash, of course, which is great. And I love that movie. Yeah, I think Damien Chazelle would be a good one, or Alex Garland, even.
Ooh.
I think that'd be an interesting choice if you want to go that darker route. He's a little too grim for a fun Dick Tracy movie, but I think if you wanted something that was a little more Dark Knight Returns, I think Alex Garland would be a good pick.
Well, I think just for a short, you go the Dark Knight Returns, just like a 20 to 30 minute short film. It might be.
I'm into that. Or
the Old
that
Man
I actually
Tracy, but
yes,
Glenn
I'm actually
Powell
super.
movie's got to be bright cartoon.
Yeah.
It's got to be this.
Yeah, no, I think for a short, I think that'd be actually fantastic. That'd be a really good short. Yes, now I'm with you. I'm in.
You know what? And that short would be better than what the hell they've had released for this since the movie.
So, you know, Mike, you keep interjecting.
No, not the movie. I'm talking about the two.
It's the movie.
The special movie. The specials are dumb.
They are.
Those two specials are
rough.
dumb.
They're rough. They're not.
This movie is not a Mike movie, but this is not a bad movie at all.
Right.
This is a decent movie. Just because it's not a movie, it is still a very good movie. I always try to make sure that I recognize things that might not be my thing. It doesn't make them bad. I mean, there were cool moments in this movie for me. Like, I did laugh. I liked the no face. To me, that was a question. I was like, oh, it's a question from DC. I know it's not. That's what I kept thinking of. A very underrated character.
Okay, so when was the question created?
Oh, God. It is the question, isn't it?
The blank came
Question
before
wasn't
the
made
question.
DC. DC acquired it.
Yeah. Question came from Carlton, I think. But even that, I think, was after the blank appeared in Dick Tracy.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. The question was 1967. And I think the blank was like a 40s Dick Tracy character.
I mean, I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. Yeah, but it sounds right.
Incidentally, the blank, not Breathless Mahoney in the comic.
That threw me for real spoilers for this movie when Madonna was no face. I was really surprised. I did not see that. It
was interesting. I was surprised by it too.
It's a weird choice. I don't. It has a Scooby-Doo vibe to it where it's like zoinks.
Yes,
it was very much so that. And this movie should not be examined with a microscope or a magnifying glass. We don't need to do that with Dick Tracy. But there's a few moments in there where you're like, how did that work? How did she go from singing at the club to being no face to back to singing? It doesn't quite line up. But at the end, it gives a very and you wrote in your notes, Mike, is this kiss earned? Come on, I don't know. I really don't know.
There were two kisses.
I mean,
and neither one was like. I mean, this isn't as bad.
Well, one
as,
was
like, some of the
forced.
stuff.
One was forced. One was Dick Tracy. I mean, come on now.
But
There's
Bill,
only so
at
much a
least they
person can
didn't.
take.
He didn't just leave his fiance at the altar, and he didn't just leave her musician boyfriend in a different country. Like,
That's
at least
true.
that didn't happen, right?
That is true. That is very true. Yeah, I would say fine. She stole both of those kisses. Both of those smooches were stolen. And good for Dick for being, just the good guy, even though, Madonna shows up in your office half naked. Good Lord.
I did like that
Again,
outfit.
there's only some. Well, it's funny. It's funny. My wife was
When
like,
I had seen she climbs on the desk, I'm like, okay, this is good. It's campy too. Like, it just fits.
my wife was like, she did not watch this with me. She was playing New Vegas next to me on her computer, and she was kind of half watching. And she's like, you could have probably watched this with Will, with my 8-year-old son. I'm like, a little too much Madonna. And there's a very clear, there's some very clear full frontal, which I'm amazed skipped out. Well, not full frontal. I mean, it was obscured by a black negligee, but you can definitely.
There's nipples.
Do you see nipples? There is nipplage, and for a PG-13 movie. Surprised that snuck by the censors.
I don't know.
PG-13 movie, or was it PG?
PG-13 didn't exist. No, PG-13 already out. Never mind.
Yeah, PG-13 existed by this point.
Yeah, was it PG? PG or PG-13? Regardless, censors were sleeping on the job with that one. I was like, it's a little too much Madonna in this one for a young lad. It's a little much.
Well, that's that. I think it's fine. I mean, except for the cement box thing. Actually, Bobby.
Oh, the bath.
Bath.
That would be a terrible way to die.
Not great.
It's kind of just put cement shoes on them, except more extreme.
I mean, you put them in a box, fill them up with cement. You get cement in your mouth, cement on your face. I mean,
your nose. You're like,
a way to die.
See, here's the thing about cement, though. It's also a skin irritant if you get it on your hands.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. That's why you never see people really working on concrete without gloves.
Fair point.
Yeah, I guess in drywall.
Doesn't even wall now.
It's basic concrete.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now it sucks even more.
It bothered me when they killed a guy like that. Like, man, that up him in the water. I'm like, okay. And then the other guy that's essentially in the upstairs for some reason, they put him in cement too. But he rescued.
Well, I mean, he's there to keep an eye on the operation. He's a cop, so he's basically on a stakeout.
Yeah, but maybe you shouldn't be drinking coffee,
Or maybe you should be careful and not spill it on the hole in the damp floor.
I mean, if it weren't for a giant cockroach and Bugs Bailey, whatever his name is his fumble fingers. This caper would have been destroyed, and the whole crime organization would have been just plummeted. It would have been destroyed.
It is funny because it's not far off. We caught John Gotti, so that made me chuckle. I don't remember what year John Gotti is caught, but it's not far off from how they got him because they bugged office. But they found out he went up to some woman's apartment and they bugged her apartment, and that's how they recorded all his conversations. And when they caught him, he was laughing. And the guy said, you shouldn't have talked so much in that woman's apartment. And they said he stopped smiling real fast. So that's how he...
Fascinating. I didn't know that.
I know way too much about...
And there's also some pretty interesting corollaries between Al Capone in that, and in the movie, Breathless's big scheme, her big caper, which towards the end gets really muddled in the action. Like, it's what exactly is happening gets a little muddled. It's kind of hard to follow exactly what's happening, but the goal is to frame Big Boy for kidnapping, because you can't get him on murdering or racketeering or anything else, but you can get him on kidnapping. And that's how Al Capone was arrested. He was arrested for tax evasion, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't arrested for racketeering and murdering and doing all the awful things. They got him for tax evasion. That was the side. That was the kind of thing they got him on. So yeah. So another little interesting parallel.
And thank God for Charles Martin Smith being the accountant that kept pushing for that.
Yes.
That's a throwback to the Untouchables, also, which has a Nintendo game.
Does it really?
You want me to cover it?
Yes.
Wow.
I do want you to cover the Untouchables.
It's good. It's real good.
And the game is the game is competent as well.
Can't always say that
Interesting.
about Uncharted.
Untouchables has the baby carriage scene, right?
Yep.
Is that the Untouchables? Okay, yeah. I remember studying that in one of my film classes as like about tension and setting up a scene. I remember studying that one.
Yeah, that scene in itself is just, stealing full-heartedly from Battleship Potemkin in the Odessa Stairs sequence.
Not what?
Yes,
That's
Professor.
so much I understood. But you're not surprised.
A good movie.
Okay.
Very good.
I'll take your word for it. Why is it what popped in my head is don't take my word for it, and I don't know what that was from. I just know it was a commercial. Okay. Trying to think some other scenes that I want to bring. But you guys are right. Like the whole thing with Madonna turning out to be the villain, like there's not enough for her to sneak around. I did laugh a bit that the guy that runs the diner is also named Mike. That did crack me up a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, there are so many fucking Mikes out there. My God, like in my job, I get connected with a lot of Mikes that I talk to, and I'm just like, man, and I even joke, I'm like, I even tell them that too. I'll tell Mikes that.
It's funny that Diner Mike and Dick Tracy have like the closest thing to marriage that Dick Tracy has at this point in his life.
Pretty much. That is, yeah, the owner and chef of the Greasy Spoon restaurant that he is, because Dick Tracy can't cook. There's no way he has any skills, any culinary skills whatsoever. So he's eating every meal there. You're right. They have such a old couple, such an old couple energy.
They have the Louis and Lestat energy.
I appreciate that, Joe.
Excellent. I appreciate it now too. Has that episode come out yet? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, that's been out.
Yeah.
Has it been out? Okay, I see. I'm sorry. I haven't been checking.
Don't be. The amount of stuff I publish, you don't ever need to feel sorry if you missed something. So I'm a bit insane, Bill. A bit. That's probably an understatement, isn't it?
I think one of my favorite ridiculous scenes in this movie is the rehearsal scene where Breathless is working out the song More and Big Boy's just like kind of walking her through it and just like kind of beating her up about it.
Yeah.
Like, just come on, do better. And like he starts singing it. And at one point the spotlight goes off of her and onto him.
Yep.
And just that little spotlight move, I lost my shit the first time I saw it. I was like, that's the funniest fucking thing. And it still makes me laugh.
It's so glorious. It's so glorious because, and he's getting more and more into it. Like he's now part of the cabaret. Like he's part of the group. Like, and it's fantastic. And again, this is Pacino just having an absolute blast with this character. He's in 3 years, again, he's gonna be doing Scent of a Woman and getting Oscar wins for, big, and again, he's already, a celebrated actor. He's no small potatoes in 1990 Al Pacino. But man, to see him just having fun in a movie and disappearing into a character is so great. The guy's a professional, like an absolute pro, and he is having a blast in that. I love all of his quotes throughout the whole thing. All of his
his wrong quotes.
Are they wrong quotes?
Every one of them is wrong.
See, that's how uncultured I am. How much I don't know.
What do you mean wrong?
I did not miss. Is he attributing the quotes to the wrong person?
Those quotes have never been said by the people who he said.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
Like I only know because I went and looked, because like I was like, no, there's no way Nietzsche said a man without a plan is not a man. That is bullshit. And he never said that. So I was like, all right,
without a plan is not a man. George Washington.
Yeah, that was very passable. But like I went back after I realized that one was wrong. I looked up the other ones, and no, none of those sayings are said by the people who said them.
Okay, that's
so a man without a plan is a man without a plan is not a man at all. Nietzsche. Nietzsche. So good. What a dullard I am that I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm sure Nietzsche said that.
I don't know what Nietzsche is, so don't feel bad.
So Friedrich Nietzsche, he was basically a philosopher way back in the day.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was an interesting cat. We'll put it that way. I don't want to get too into it.
That's fine.
But well, like we'll be here for hours because I can talk about Nietzsche for hours. But like none of those quotes are right. Not a single one. It just shows that he's full of shit.
And so great.
He's so confident that you like want to believe him, but no.
That's fantastic. That made my evening. That's so good. A funny joke.
It is.
like there's just so many things to talk about in here. Like we haven't even really talked about Dick Van Dyke as the district attorney.
He's great.
He's crooked district attorney.
Really good.
Just like he's old now, but he was pretty old then, and he was bringing it with the force.
Yeah, he was up there.
I like him as an actor a lot too.
Yeah, I like him when he's not talking in fucking horrible accents.
In what way?
The Cockney from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, that's less than splendid. Yeah. Point.
But like, he's not in this movie much, but he's electrifying.
He's great. He's great. Speaking of electrifying, that final shootout, I don't know how many bullets a Tommy gun actually holds, but boy, oh boy, they put in the infinite ammo code when in that final shootout, where they just pepper the cars with rain and just array of bullets. It's the end, very satisfying, very fun, very comic-y. It's a good time.
Yeah, and like Flat Top going down in a hail of bullets. That's a good.
It's how it's got to happen. Good. How it has to happen.
Like the villains in this are just so wild, and that's a big hallmark of the Dick Tracy comic strip. They're wildly strange villains. I mean, you didn't have Beady Eyes, who has just like a bunch of tiny little eyes. There's like crazy hillbillies that start out as villains but become beloved series regulars. You got, you saw all your weird ones like the Brow and Prune Face. And Prune Face is not old. It's a skin condition that makes them like that.
Ooh, interesting.
Like, it's just these exaggerated features that make them who they are. And it's just wild that Flat Top's, he's just got such a big flat head, man.
He's just got a big old flat head. Great.
Yeah, with like a weird baby face too.
Yep, it's a really good character design. All the characters designs, the makeup design, we talked about it already, but it really are good. And they again draw you into this world. Boy, I would have loved to see more Littleface, but I guarantee you the actor who played Littleface, if that even was an actor behind that makeup, probably didn't want to do that more than once. I can't imagine someone wanted to. It was
an actor.
Okay. Curious if it was just like a model or something.
Nope. What they did with Littleface was that face was his regular size face, and they built a big fucking head around him. So like that's why you don't have any like close-ups of him moving. You see him from the back when he's with the other people.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because like the close-up is just him with like a 4-foot wide head.
Amazing.
And
love that.
The comic, he's got a really tiny face.
Fantastic. As you would expect.
Yeah. And like I am kind of bummed that we never got a sequel because there's so many people that we didn't get. We didn't get Flat Top's kids who are legitimately insane.
Oh, there's Spawn of Flat Top?
Yeah, there's Flat Top Jr., Angel Top, his brother, Blow Top, who is actually law-abiding.
Oh.
We didn't get anything with Influence, which really bums me out. Like, Influence was in this movie. He was the guy with, like, the really sharp cheekbones who had one line that was like, hey, so when do we get Dick Tracy?
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, Influence was a murderous hypnotist. And when he got caught in jail, he had basically a coming to God moment. And when he got out, he turned good and was released with hypnotism to aid witnesses. Like, he had an entire ass story. And that's what's crazy about the Dick Tracy things is that they would go on and on forever. Like, the stories would just go on, and Prune Face has died and come back a couple times by now. Big Boy is actually dead in the comic strip. The last thing he did in his life was put out $1 million contract on Dick Tracy.
Okay.
And it got a bunch of crazy people out in the woodwork. Brow died. He got shot in the face. That's what you do to Nazis.
Yes, that's it. Let that be a lesson.
But like, there's so much out there. It's such a wild comic strip. And I think that this is the closest we're going to get to an actual like the comics Dick Tracy movie. I really do.
Yeah, again, this could be done, but to what end? I don't think Dick Tracy would have that popularity to support the kind of movie to kind of have that vision. I would like to see as a short shoot. I would like to see this as an animated show. I'd love to
That
see
could
a
work.
season of this show up on like Netflix or someplace. That'd
Well,
be cool.
There was a Dick Tracy cartoon back in the
Really?
day.
Okay.
Yep. It was made by the same studio that made the Mr. Magoo cartoons.
Hey!
Crude Face and Flat Top actually showed up on Mr. Magoo.
That is amazing. Hey, see, look at that. Love it. Did you watch Mr. Magoo Christmas Carol this holiday season, by the way? Ken Sanity?
I did.
You did. What did you think?
I liked it.
I see. Isn't it good? Isn't it great? I am so glad. I was very afraid when you said you saw it that you were going to say you did not like it because that would have hurt my feelings.
No,
You watched-
it was very much this feels good.
Yeah, it very faithful. Like I not this is such a diversion, but I think we probably brought this up over the holidays. I'm sure on this show, and of course I did my yearly viewing of Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol because it's great. And as I was watching it, since I've seen this special 30, 40, 50 times, I don't know how long I've been alive. I was actually reading along A Christmas Carol with the lines. I'm like, are these lines actually pulled? Because I couldn't find any proof, like written proof about that. And sure enough, every line in that special is pulled directly from the original novel, the original Charles Dickens novel. It's actually extremely faithful to the original with Goofy Mr. Magoo doing his Goofy Mr. Magoo thing. It's great. I don't know. My son and daughter still love the song with the thieves. The doom dot doom dot doom. My daughter always, Daddy, I want to hear doom dot. So I have to go on Netflix while I'm trying to drive and then play doom dot. So anyway, diversion. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Ken, because
one part that I really liked just seeing it visually is when he's waiting at the docks for Madonna and just seeing those ships. It really made me think of Titanic, just because it's looks kind of like a big ocean liner. I'm watching the movie as we're talking in the background. So I just had to mention that. I really do like the matte painting. I know I said it earlier, but they just are really good in this.
I think this was probably the last movie where they were this good. Because after this, you start getting into the CGI era.
That quick?
This was 1990 when you're starting to get into CGI stuff. Like they were using CGI in Disney movies back in the 80s. Like the great undersung Disney movie, Great Mouse Detective, was the first movie that Disney used to computer to help with animation.
Oh, I guess the first feature film to use CGI as well as the composition of live action film with CGI was Vertigo in 1958.
Yeah, but like a year after this, you have Terminator 2.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, wow.
Which is like the watershed use of CGI.
Yeah.
Like The Abyss came out the year before this, and that used CGI, and let's be honest, The Abyss was fine.
It's fine.
It's no Terminator 2.
No. No, not few things are.
So, like, this is one of the last handcrafted movies you get. And did they use computer in here? They might have used computer a little bit. I don't know where. I can't tell where.
I like the fact that
I couldn't tell you.
All right, anything we haven't touched? Oh, have we talked about the kid, the name he takes in this movie at the end?
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
It is cute, and it is accurate. In the comics, they just call him Junior.
Okay, didn't know
But like, this is it's a very this is how it is in the comics. Like, Junior absolutely was adopted by Dick Tracy, and he lived on the street with Steve the Tramp. So, like, this is very much an origin story. Oh, God, this could have been so big. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be mad about it anymore. But
Don't be. I think Warren Beatty's upset about it enough for everyone else in the world.
Accurate. I think it's accurate.
Warren Beatty, if you're out there listening and you decide to listen to this, give me a call, because I know what's happening in 2 years, and I want to help you do something.
What happens in 2 years?
Dick Tracy hits the public domain in 2027.
Oh no.
So we will get a horror movie for Dick Tracy then in 2027.
Yeah, we're gonna get some terrible horror movie. Great. Fantastic.
No, I don't think we're going to get a horror movie. But let's be honest, some of these bad guys are so creepy looking. It could be a horror movie easily.
Totally.
Yep. I mean, isn't that what already happens with public domain? Like, I mean, the Winnie the Pooh, we had a horror movie. Mickey Mouse, we're getting a horror movie, aren't we?
Well, see, think about it this way, though. We're like, those were lovable characters that got turned into horror movies. Okay. So what happens with Dick Tracy? With Dick Tracy, you get a buddy comedy if it's going in opposite direction.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I dig that. Yeah,
I just didn't even realize it's that old or that it's coming public domain soon.
Yeah.
Damn.
Hopefully, I'll get my chance to make my Dick Tracy
You will in 2 years.
because I think I got it in me to make a good Dick Tracy movie.
You have the love for the franchise. I mean, you have this. Yeah, you love this franchise. So, I mean, if anybody can do it, you could, sir.
Yeah, so
Oh,
there's
and-
your director for the Dick Tracy movies. Give it to me.
yeah, you.
In 2 years, guess what? They can. Anybody can. So. Random thing that I want to mention in this, because I'm watching this movie, and they mentioned Rip Van Winkle. And the same day when I was talking to my mother, she made a comment about Rip Van Winkle because that's what my uncle calls one of his cats. The fact that I've heard the same Rip Van Winkle twice in one day, kind of weird as hell.
It's odd.
That is weird.
So,
That is unusual.
maybe I should go buy a lottery ticket, as Joe always tells me. So
It's not exactly an up-to-date reference.
no, God, no.
Like the kids don't exactly talk about it constantly. So for it to come up twice in the same day is pretty damn weird.
Mm-hmm. I did the Leonardo moment where I pointed at the TV and went, hey, I get that reference now. And we had to look it up. So my wife
That's
Googled
great.
it. But yes. And then there's the whole like clock tower scene at the end of this movie that again made me think of Batman 89.
Yeah. You know what other movie has a clock tower scene in it? Great Mouse Detective.
Ooh,
You saw the list I sent you.
Why do I keep bringing up the Great Mouse Detective?
I know why you keep bringing it up.
Stay tuned.
I genuinely don't know why, but I'm here
I'll tell
for
you
it.
after the recording.
Fair. I get all the inside deets.
Anything else we should mention about this movie that we haven't talked about?
Oh God,
No.
there's so much I want to talk about, but it's not just about the movie. It's about Dick Tracy in general. How
Sure, we
the
can have
two-way wrist
little bit of time.
radio went on to inspire mobile telephones.
What?
Yes.
Yeah, wait, yeah, what?
The people that made, like, the main guy who came up with the idea for mobile was like, yeah, I wanted the Dick Tracy thing.
That's crazy. Okay.
So, like, this has been around and in popular culture for like so long, it has contributed so much to culture that we don't really talk about. And it's still around. This past year, there was a new comic series that came out for it. And it looks a little grimdark, I'm not gonna lie, but it's still Dick Tracy, and I haven't read it yet, but I want to. And like it's still out there, people still want it. I don't know if there's enough people that want it to make it worth the while.
And that's the key there. And I think in our cynical Hollywood studio system, I don't know if there's the ROI isn't there. I don't know if that's the case. Because this movie, you got to do it big. It has to be a big, silly thing. It can't be a small indie flick. I don't know.
I know.
I'd like to think we live in a world where there could be more Dick Tracy, but I shudder to think that it may not be. I don't know.
I don't think we do. I don't think there's enough. It's too old of a property. And the fact that it's 2 years away from public domain, nobody's going to touch it until after that. Because you'd have to be in production already. So.
Yeah.
And then have we talked about the specials yet? We mentioned it briefly. Do you guys want to talk about the two specials?
Mention it briefly. We can discuss if you like.
Yeah.
I mean, it essentially isn't it Warren Beatty interviewing Warren Beatty as dressed up as Dick Tracy?
Well, that was the one from 2023.
Okay.
The 20. Well, yeah. Okay.
The 2010 one was Warren Beatty as Dick Tracy being interviewed by Leonard Maltin, the movie critic. Just go watch them. Go find them on YouTube. If you have any interest at all, watch what is quite possibly the greatest ode to man's ego of the 21st century. Like, it is impressive. The delusion.
It really is, because it comes from a completely unironic place. It comes from a desire to keep this thing afloat. It is really something to see. It's something to see. It is weird, unintentionally weird.
I really do respect Warren Beatty for trying to keep this thing going, for not trusting anybody with it. Like, I get it. I do. As an established fan, I'm pretty sure I've proven that during the length of this episode.
Yes,
like,
I believe
you have.
I am a fan, not just of the movie, but of the property. I like the Dick Tracy world. I don't want to see anybody fuck it up. I really don't. I don't want a grimdark version of the movie. I don't want, somebody being like, oh, let's make Dick Tracy for now, though. He's getting persecuted because he's a cop. I don't want that. I want my 30s escapism.
We have enough of that.
This wouldn't work.
I don't want to see that.
World. This Dick Tracy is the 1930s, just like Indiana Jones should stay in the 1940s. Like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to see Dick Tracy in a modern day world because of the idea of these characters and the cartooniness and the colors. It has to be 1930. It has to be the 1920s. It can't be today. Like, it's just not going to work.
And let's face it, Dick Tracy could not get away with essentially torturing information out of Mumbles.
I love Mumbles. when he talks, finally.
Whoa, wait. 88 keys, the piano player set you up. Just so good.
So great. So good. I also, one of my favorite lines as a young lad at the age of 10 watching this, I was very amazed my dad would let me go see a movie where one of the lines was 30 seconds, no more dick.
Oh my God.
30 seconds, no more dick. 30 seconds, no more dick. And I still remember that to this day. How young lad me thought that was just the funniest damn thing.
So that actor that plays Itchy, oh Christ, what the hell is his name? It is Edo Ross. So he played the main bad guy in Red Heat, the movie with Schwarzenegger and James Belushi. So like he was the bad guy. And for him to go from that to like this kind of comic sidekick in 2 years, wild. Absolutely wild.
I've never seen Red Heat. I remember Dead Heat. Isn't Dead Heat a Joe Piscopo movie?
Yes, that is.
Also from 1988. Wait a minute. So 1988 brought us Dead Heat and Red Heat.
Yep.
Wow.
Red Heat is Arnold Schwarzenegger playing a Russian cop.
What is happening? I know what my next double feature is. My next double feature is Dead Heat and then Red Heat. Stupid Joe Piscopo, the pride of New Jersey.
Oh my God.
This whole episode is going off the rails. I don't know why. There's a whole. If my brother listens to this, he's gonna laugh because there's a whole thing about Joe Piscopo. It's I won't even get into it. But good old Joe grew up in our old neighborhood, Mr. Jersey Joe himself. And anyway, not going to get into a Joe Piscopo conversation. However, what I will get into is 30 seconds no more dick. Pretty great. I was very happy to see that. Just trying to get us from point A to point B, fellas. That's all I'm trying to do.
Oh my God.
It was funny.
So good.
Yeah.
No, Dustin Hoffman was really good at Mumbles. I like that actor. Did he turn out to be crazy, did he?
No.
Okay, good.
No. I'm gonna go out and say here, I'm gonna put myself out on a limb and say that nobody in this movie does a bad job. Even in Warren Beatty's most wooden acting in this movie, that is accurate to the source material.
It's true.
So, like, I don't even like Warren Beatty's not a bad actor. No. I think he's just trying to, bring some Dick Tracy to Dick Tracy. And like there's not a bad role in this movie. I will fight until the death to anybody who says there is. This movie is just wonderfully acted. It's a slice of Americana from a version of the world that never really existed, but we all wanted to exist.
Exactly. That's a very good way of putting it. The roaring, the 30s was not exactly that. There was a lot going on in the 30s. It wasn't this Technicolor showcase. And this movie also has very, trying to think of a good way of putting it, and you may have a better filmmaking term for this, has very soft edges. I feel everything's filmed very soft, like a Chris Columbus soft. Like everything seems very, it's the only way I can describe it is like soft edges. And maybe that was just my recollection of it, or maybe it's just a YouTube nonsense I was watching. Did anyone catch that in the filmmaking? Just again, feels very cozy. There's a very cozy feeling to
I think
this
cozy is
movie
a fair word for this.
Yeah. Cozy, it's I think it's a lot of things. It's the way they shoot it. It's the way that the camera doesn't move around, so you're not up in anybody's face. This movie has room to breathe, and that's pretty great. Not enough movies have that.
This is true. And I gotta say, I also like the fight scenes, like all the hand-to-hand, oldie time, thwop, 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 just punching and more punching. It was a lot of fun. Again, it's nice to see a movie where the good guys win, the bad guys lose, because that doesn't happen much in anything in our lives these days. And I think it's just maybe that's what lends to the comfort of this and the coziness is that yes, bad guys lose and good guys win, and sometimes just a good old fashioned socko to the face is just what you need to make you feel better about life.
That's fair. I don't have anything else to say.
And I definitely can't top that. So
Okay.
Fair. Boom. Drop him the mic.
All right, let's go to the shelf stacker box then. And I'll go first. You guys have been talking it up, and I'm rewatching the movie as we're talking, but I'm going to go by what my opinion was last night when I finished this movie. It's going in a box, not just any box, it's going in a cement box, and it's going in the water. So,
whoa.
Did not do it for me. I'm glad I saw it earlier, but I was bored mostly. So, yeah, and if I stop your movie at an hour and go, 45 minutes left, that's not a good time for your movie. So
It isn't.
But I think it's just me. Like, that's all. I mean, it didn't bother me. I wasn't as bored as Blair Witch, and I wasn't grossed out and uncomfortable like I was when I watched Hereditary. But, yeah, just something was missing. So, but I am glad we watched it. I am glad that it's finally part of this show. And Bill, about you?
This is gonna be. I didn't think I was going to do this when I first started watching this movie, and even like before the show, I was thinking, this is definitely not a box for me. Not a box. Do I shelf this? Do I stack this? I am gonna actually put this on the shelf. I am gonna shelf this, and the reason is I think that there is for all the reasons we've already discussed, the acting is fantastic. The cast is immaculate. The songs are good. It's beautiful to look at. It uses matte paintings. Like, it has all the earmarks of something I like. And there is something very cozy. And on a personal note, this does also remind me of my dad, because it's something that he really, really liked. So much so that he spent his hard-earned probably 20-something bucks on a VHS copy of it back in 1991 or whenever it came out on VHS. So I'm going to put this on the shelf for personal reasons and for film reasons as well.
All right. And Mr. Ken.
Surprising absolutely nobody, this is going on my shelf. In fact, during this episode, I bought 2 Dick Tracy books while we were recording. I bought one of the collections that I didn't have, and I bought the novelization for this movie that was written by Max Allan Collins, who took over the Dick Tracy comic strip after Chester Gould retired from it. So I love this movie so much that I'm still buying things from this movie because I love the comic, I love the games, I love the movie, I love the property in general. It's a shelf. And look, if you listen to me at all this year, I'm probably going to say some stuff that you agree with, maybe some stuff you don't agree with. But please, for the love of God, watch this movie. Give it a chance. Let it into your heart, because there's every chance you're going to find a new favorite movie. Just give it a try.
1000% agree. Just give it a shot. You're gonna be surprised with how much you enjoy it. Yeah, I agree.
Too bad this isn't on streaming. Besides Amazon, like for people just to watch it randomly.
It's worth it. I guess I'm not gonna tell what people to do with their money, but I think it's worth a $4 YouTube rental or a $4 Prime rental. I really genuinely do. I think there's a lot of fun to be had here.
I've rented worse movies, so yeah.
I've rented worse movies for this show.
Me too. But even though I put this in the low end, but yeah. No, and as I said, kind of a little bit, this was a Patreon voted episode, so thank you, patrons, for choosing this.
Thanks, patrons.
And a lot of that was
Yay.
Ken.
I make a convincing argument.
Yes.
But seriously, thank you to all the patrons who voted. Now I'll shut up about it, I promise.
And Bill, where can people find you at?
I do a podcast entitled A Gamer Looks at 40. It's a nostalgic look at oldie time video games. Not quite the 1930s, but they weren't around back then. It's a show where I'm currently doing, I don't know when this is releasing, but I probably will still be doing Final Fantasy. Next week, I'm in the midst of a Final Fantasy VII retrospective. When this releases, there will be 7 episodes of the Final Fantasy series out, with 2 more to come. So if you like Final Fantasy VII, boy oh boy, do I examine that game to death. But considering it is the Final Fantasy game, it's the Final Fantasy game that is really its own franchise. it kind of warrants that discussion. But anyway, if there's 100 other episodes or so, if you don't like Final Fantasy, just go back and check out the backlog. There should be something for everybody. A gamer looks at 440.com if you are interested.
Weird, almost as if you're getting tired of Final Fantasy there, sir. Sounds like weird.
So freaking, I can't. It's just, I'm just.
This is why I don't ever do the same thing too close together. I can't. It has to be, things have to be split up, different franchises, different styles. I can't do two stuff because I'll get burned out and I'll get mad at myself.
That's fair. That is fair.
All right, and if you enjoyed this episode, over 750 episodes of this podcast, you can find everything we do on Podbean. You can search. You never know what you're going to find. We've done a lot of strange stuff, so definitely go type in there and see what you can find. We have a giant catalog. We do movies, comics, TV shows, video games, all sorts of content. If you want to support shows, I said earlier, we have a Patreon, a little bit of, as $1, you can vote in our Patreon polls. We have 1 to 2 a month. Currently 2 this month at the time you're hearing this, except this is the day before the month ends. And we have 2 next month for sure. So definitely a great way to support the show and help make things happen. Because if they don't win the vote, like this didn't win a vote before, I'm pretty sure it got put back it took a while. So
it did.
So if he doesn't win the vote or doesn't tie the vote, it goes away for a bit until I eventually get around to it. Definitely go do that. We have a Discord you can join for free. Join our Discord, chat with us. Just that's how you want to be on the show. That's how you can get on the show. You can suggest things that I will eventually get to, like this. I'm sure it took me years to get to this, but I'm actually doing Discord suggestions this year. So I'm fixing my past sins. Go check all that out. I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy to Helena at Hell Has Free. Follow her on TikTok and Instagram. Definitely go check her out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, audio only, and rate and reviews over your podcast. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
So long.